So that, guys, anyone who's listening, if any family member says, yeah, I'm happy, but if we were all dead tomorrow, it'd be much better. That's probably a red flag. You need to go ahead and pack up everything, get the kids out, and don't go back. But I do think you're right. It's like, and we talked about this, I think in the first podcast, or maybe it was the season one, where your brain does not compute that those statements equal, I'm going to kill everybody.
Right.
Especially if you have a relationship with someone.
Right. And it always begins good. Like they were teenage lovers. He rescued her from disgrace and married her and adopted her child and gave him his name. I mean, it's like, and I've heard this, like, a lot of people, they worry about aging and things like that. And they, worry, like women, especially, like maybe they've gained a little bit of weight as they go, and they begin to wonder if maybe they're not as attractive to their husband, things like that. Well, if you're married to, a douchebag, maybe that would be a problem. But and to me, like, I will have a disclaimer that I feel like how you take care of yourself physically is a form of love to me, because, as you age, I don't, I want to do fun things and enjoy life. Right. So that's a little bit different. But when you have that beginning where it's so emotionally tied and you've got a good thing going, you still see your spouse the same way years later. It's very interesting. And it's like the brain, neurons that fire together, wire together, that emotion that's tied to the initial connection. It's like it freezes your spouse in your brain as that person that you married.
Right. If it's good, yeah.
If it's good. So it takes a lot to undo that. Yeah. And it seems like for some people, they never see it. Kind of like the lady that married John List, and they're sitting there getting the tail end of the Unsolved Mission, or America's Most Wanted, of him being the family annihilator, and it never entered her mind that it was her husband sitting next to her on the couch.
Yeah.
Though it looked just like him.
Right. Accountant.
Right.
Religious. Right. So on top of the usual patterns, here's another one. He was also having an affair with a mistress in Paris. Mm-hmm. And he'd even borrowed 50,000 euros from her in desperation. So he killed them in 2011, but in 2010, in an email, he told her that he was ruined, at rock bottom like never before. Quote, I am awake almost every night with these morbid ideas, burning down the house after giving everyone sleeping pills, or killing myself so that Agnes could get 600,000 euros. In my case, my life will end in the next few months if I don't get 25,000 euros immediately. So he emailed that to his mistress, which I think is weird. Like, well, maybe I should just kill myself so my wife, of whom I'm unfaithful to with you, can get life insurance. It's a strange thing.
No, the very first comment is jacked up. That's a major flag in a relationship with someone. Mm-hmm. Talking about giving his family sleeping pills and burning down the house. What did she think was going to happen to the thing?
Right. It's like details. Yeah. It's details. He's too specific on how he would do that. Like, to me, that's huge. So if you're a mistress and you receive an email like that, you probably should notify the wife.
Right. Or police.
And then get away from this lunatic, because number one, he's a crybaby. And number two, he's, got specific details on how he's going to kill his family.
And specifically says morbid thoughts. I have these morbid thoughts. Or ideas. Was it ideas?
And the reason I say he's a crybaby, I mean, how dramatic do you need to be? I'm going to die if I don't get this money. Come on. Go get a construction job. I don't know.
No. Come on, son.
Come on, son. So we could see that he's already got his plan. You know what I mean? Like, he's already planning this thing out. He's already thinking about the different ways he can do it. And again, he's like John List and a lot of family annihilators, that the only way out that he sees is to annihilate his entire family. So he has, or had, a best friend. His name's Bruno. And when they were interviewing Bruno, which I'm sure it's a name in France that they use, but it just sounds weird. I don't know why. Why does it sound weird? Like Bruno. Is it just the way, Bruno?
It's definitely a European name.
A lot of, cut this part out, but a lot of dogs are named Bruno.
Is that what's cracking me up? That's probably what's cracking me up. Okay. So Bruno said, and he was his best friend and dog. You know what I'm saying? I think you have a point. But anyway, that he was vain, proud, and he would not want to lose face. It was as if he was on a mission to save his children from finding out he was a loser.
You know, though, a lot of normal men think that way too, though. They don't kill their families, but.
Well, yeah, I think that for a man to be a failure to his family or in his profession stuff would be a definite hit to the ego.
Right.
And I think the reason it would be a definite hit to the ego is they've never had a baby from their groin come out. So when you're a woman, loins, yes, not groin, loins. When your loins are exposed for all to see, ego goes away.
Right.
Okay. So now we're like 3 months past the murders. Okay. So, before. So this is January 20th, 2011. So we already know that good old Xavier is wanting to annihilate his family. He's already got an idea of how he wants to do it. But then his dad suddenly died of a heart attack. His name is Hubert. And at this point, I'm sure Xavier is hoping that there's some money from his dad dying or something he could sell to get him out of the mess that he's in. Plus, he was wanting to find the family signet ring. That was very important to him. So he started working on clearing out his father's apartment, but he didn't find anything except a .22 caliber long rifle.
Does he have siblings?
No siblings were mentioned. So I'm not sure, but in the show and in my research, I didn't see any siblings. So Herbert's neighbor remembered something. The last time he saw Xavier, he said he had, quote, a very dark look in his eyes. Now, you could be like, yeah. Are you saying that, post killing his family? But I don't know. I mean, if he saw Xavier, several times at least visiting his father, and then all of a sudden he's got this look in his eyes, I could see that. It's like Chris Watts' neighbor. He's like, something's going on. Now, it wouldn't have taken a rocket scientist, because watching the video, you can see that Chris is avoiding the footage. He's looking all around. He's on his phone. He's got, body language of his head on his hands. You only do that if you're freaking out. I normally don't put my hands on my head, so that was pretty obvious. But this guy's like, there's something going on. And so then 13 days later, on February 2nd, Xavier obtains a firearms license, even though he never had any interest whatsoever previously with weapons. And he started going to a shooting range, and to spend quality time with his two sons that he would be murdering soon. He would take them as well to learn how to shoot.
Oh.
And then he asked his instructor about silencers. To me, there's only one reason you need a silencer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they need to be outlawed. I don't believe in that. But why do you need a silencer?
Instructor didn't notice or think that's all.
He asked him about them. I don't think the instructor, again, you're just like your day-to-day life. If you're a firearms expert and you have a shooting range, maybe you see a purpose for silencers that others don't.
I could say around here in the country, I mean, although we can actually, because we're in the county, we can shoot freely, but I could see if you were really practicing or something, being a little bit more.
Or maybe hunting and you don't want to scare off other wildlife, maybe something like that. And guns are super loud, so I could see. But he bought one on March 12th, which would explain why the neighbors didn't hear any gunshots.
Right.
He also bought some garbage bags and cement.
Were they buried in cement when they?
Some of it was found on the bodies. So I don't know, like if he was going to mix it up and encase them. And it, like y'all saw the space and it was just too little space to do that, or he was fatigued after his cleanup. I'm not sure, but some was found on the bodies, but I don't know if it was just powder and he's hoping to cement them in or if it was a mixture.
Oh, because it does rain in Paris. quite a
Right.
bit.
But we're not in Paris. We're in Nantes.
But it could be close to Paris.
Okay, so the autopsy, I want to go into that a little bit, because it was written, like the coroner put, that the manner of death was, quote, methodical execution. That's what he put. So Xavier killed his wife and all three kids except for Thomas. So he was later. He killed him on Saturday, April 2nd or Sunday, April 3rd, and just the time of death. Because remember, they know that the machine, the CPAP machine, was turned off at 3 a.m. So as far as the time of death, it appears that it was between that Saturday and Sunday.
Did you say Thomas was killed later?
Mm-hmm. And this is what's crazy about it. He was killed April 5th. So Thomas had already gone back to college.
Oh.
And his father told him he had to come back.
Oh.
And he told him that your mother has had a bicycle accident. She's in the hospital in a coma, and we don't know if she'll come out of it. It's very serious. You have to come home. That to me just sucks.
Yeah. Waited a couple of days.
Yeah, like let Thomas live. I mean, you're already an idiot. And it's like you literally call him back. And it just is frustrating. So Thomas returned Tuesday evening. And then he and his father went out to eat dinner, according to witness statements, but they didn't talk much. The people that saw them noticed that they weren't talking a lot. And then Thomas was last heard from at midnight. And he sent a text message to a friend who responded right back, but then never heard back from Thomas. And so if you're a young kid texting, you're going to text back.
Right.
So that's what they're going by, is that he probably was killed right after he sent that text message, or he was already drugged and he was sleepy and he fell asleep.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was killed during the night on Tuesday into Wednesday. So some also think that Xavier hesitated to kill him because that would end the family line. So I guess Xavier didn't have any siblings, for sure didn't have a brother, because to kill his oldest son after he's killed everybody else, there would be no family line left.
Yeah.
Yeah, his biological son.
Yeah.
And since he had the silencer, then the sleeping pills weren't for the kids to wake up. That was mercy, I think.
And it was for the neighbors so they wouldn't hear. Yeah.
Because they could have rushed them. They were older.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, especially Arthur.
Mm-hmm.
So, they say he hesitated. I don't think so. I don't think he hesitated at all. I mean, if ego was that big of a deal, I don't think that he would want his family line to continue, knowing that he killed his entire family except for one. Like, to me, it's just like, let's just wipe them all out,
Why did they say that he hesitated or think?
Because he could have killed them when Thomas was there, because Thomas was there when he killed everybody else. And so they're thinking, no, he had gone back to school. So they're thinking that he probably could have killed all of them when Thomas was there. And he didn't. He let them go back.
Just like List, they're embarrassed and don't want anyone to think they're failures, but they don't care if someone thinks they're murderers.
Right. So then they believe, the police, that Xavier stayed in the house for a week because several acquaintances saw him in Nantes. He then left forever on April 10th. So remember, the neighbor thought something was weird on April 11th. And they got speed cameras and like credit card usage. He wasn't in a hurry to escape. So he visited some of the places where he and Agnes first met and lived.
And that was unusual. He didn't do
Yeah.
that typically.
Yeah. So he visited places where they lived during the early years of their marriage and places where the kids were born. So they think what he was doing was he was revisiting happy times and saying goodbye to his past, kind of like the sculptor that knew that John List would be wearing the same glasses because it would remind him of better times and more successful times.
Yeah.
So, it's crazy. So his last known stop was this town I cannot even pronounce. And he spent the night at a Formula One hotel. Surveillance cameras then recorded him crossing the hotel parking lot carrying a bag with an obvious long object at the bottom believed to be the rifle he used to kill his family. Police fully expected to find his dead body in the surrounding cliffs or mountains, but after an extensive search of holes, caves, crevices, etc., no trace was ever found.
That's weird. He would take the rifle with him. So I could see why they would think it would be suicide.
Yeah, which is a common thing with family annihilators. But normally they kill themselves on site.
But he wanted to say goodbye to everything.
That's true. That's true. So that's why a lot of people believe he committed suicide. I'm not so sure. I'm inclined to think he might have, but again, one reason is most family annihilators kill themselves right after. Second, why would he clean up the crime scene, hide the bodies, send letters of elaborate tales of drug infiltration, stop the mail, close the shutters, unless he was planning on escaping and he needed time to get away? So either, like you said, Elena, he was wanting time to say his last goodbyes, and all of that was to buy him some time, or he wanted to escape and that bought him some time.
Yeah.
What do y'all think?
I think he committed suicide.
You do. My thought goes to he's in America somewhere.
That was my initial thought.
Mhm.
Well, and there's been a couple sightings since it, we'll get into in a second, where he disappeared. So I was like, okay, would that be an easy place to get out of the country? He could have easily taken a boat, a mountain path, or a train to Italy or Croatia. Easily. And I think he would have blended in both places because of his appearance. He knew both Spanish and English. So some think that he went from there to Latin America and he looks like everybody else, so he's not going to stand out.
He might have remarried and had more children.
Oh,
Wouldn't that be terrible?
I feel like if you were annihilating your family, I couldn't see them having more children in the future.
Right.
Possibly.
Yeah. So this is, he can look so different. Like here he is here.
Yeah.
And then here, and then
Very European looking.
Here, so he can definitely look different in different pictures.
Yeah.
He has one of those faces. This looks totally different. This is the last known picture of him getting cash at an ATM.
How old was he?
Glasses.
I believe in his 40s, which again, the 40s seem to be like a big deal for these family annihilators. But like he looks just so different to me between all these pictures that I could see it being hard to find him. Or people, thinking they saw him and they didn't because he just looks so average. Now, the episode that was on Netflix's Unsolved Mysteries was called House of Terror. And after people watched that, 100 tips came in. And in October 2019, a man believed to be Xavier was arrested at Scotland's Glasgow airport. Here's what's crazy. I didn't even know this could happen. His fingerprints partially matched Xavier. Have y'all heard of that?
No.
So family members, can family members do that?
I mean, your fingerprints are supposed to be totally different.
Like, I mean, was there a full fingerprint available or did he get rid of some of it? That supposedly happens.
I don't know.
All his fingerprints were the same?
They
No.
partially matched. So
Could be.
I had no idea that was a thing. I didn't know fingerprints could partially match anybody's. And so they had to do DNA, and DNA excluded him. To me, that's crazy. So, I mean,
Well,
can you?
I thought he wiped the house clean. Where'd they get the DNA?
Well, over in Europe, I'm sure they have fingerprints more than over here.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah. And
Wow.
like your, maybe the passport, maybe you have to have it for that, or
You
I
have
don't
a
know.
picture of what he looked like when he was arrested?
No, I couldn't find a picture of the man. Mm-mm. And then another tip came in 2018. They got a call that a monk at Saint Desert des Carmes looked like Xavier, and it was located in a village that Xavier walked away into the desert where he was last seen. But what was crazy is when the police went there, all the monks had taken a vow of silence. So it made it hard for them to find out anything, but he wasn't found. And then this picture right here was one of the tips. Let me find it, that came in. Oops.
That's strange about the fingerprints.
Yeah, the only thing I
Partially
can think
matching.
of is if they were literally like still manually or visibly trying to match them. Ooh, he looks like a Queens dude.
Oh, Eddie Mercury.
Freddie
So
Mercury.
Freddie
this
Mercury.
was one of the tips that came in, as you could see, in 2003, and someone at the beach knew about the case and thought this guy looked like him, and so they took a picture. And I could see, with the facial hair.
Look at the hairline. That's what I was gonna look at. That's significant. He's got a big widow's peak.
Yeah. Same glasses.
Can't see the glasses.
Yeah, I don't think he's wearing glasses.
Yeah, he is. See?
Oh,
Oh.
does he have a full bottom lip?
It looks like it.
No, I meant on the other one.
Yeah.
Wow, the hairline and that lip.
Looks
Go back
just
to
like
his
him.
nose one more time. I would say that's pretty spot on. See how his nose is narrow, but it's kind of
Mhm.
wide at the.
Bottom. Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, they were able to confirm this was not him. It was his doppelganger.
Wow.
But that's what makes it so tough. They've never found a body. They thoroughly searched that area. And so if he committed suicide, I mean, I don't know how vast the area is, but still you think they'd find something somewhere. But they never did.
Water, mountains. Do you know the terrain?
Definitely mountainous. They have caves and crevices, but they said they thoroughly searched them, but that's taken the word of people that it took 6 visits to get them to do anything. So I'm not sure how that works there, but they never found him. So to this day, he's on the loose, and I personally think he's alive,
I do too.
and hopefully they'll find him soon. I remember on the John List, when they aired that show, America's Most Wanted, remember it was like the next day or something, they found the guy. To me, he looks a little more distinct than this guy does. So it's going to be a tough one. And I don't know if they'll ever solve it, if they'll ever find him. Now, so the psychology, I think he was definitely a disappointed and anomic, which is the socially awkward, etc. But I also think he's probably self-righteous because the background of being an accountant, he was more traditional and conservative. He was growing more rigid and inflexible. He was getting in fights with his kids or in the teenage years, which that seems to kind of be a pattern to a degree, where you've got the kids are getting their own mind and they're deciding what they want to do and be. And it's like it sends these people over the edge.
Losing control.
Yeah. So I think he definitely had some of that. I don't think he was as rigid as John List, but who believed killing his family would save him from sin, which is BS. We know that's not the case. But he did bury them, remember, with the religious objects.
Mm-hmm.
So being Catholic and all of that, maybe he knew his family, would want that. He was having the affair. He was definitely disappointed with life. So I wanted to refresh just a little bit on the different types of annihilators and see what you guys think that he fell into. And this is from psychcentral.com. So the self-righteous, this killer seeks to locate blame for his crimes upon the mother whom he holds responsible for the breakdown of the family. This may involve the killer phoning his partner before the murder to explain what he's about to do. For these men, their breadwinner status is central to their idea of the ideal family.
Yeah, I mean, he let his mistress know in a way, but we don't know what the mother and son dynamic was. That would be very interesting because there's definitely a pattern there.
Well, the mother of their children, not necessarily the killer's mother.
I'm thinking killer's mother.
Yeah, no, this one's like, basically they hold their spouse responsible.
I don't think
the breakdown of the family. And so if he was like real rigid and inflexible, she was probably like, she was more personable. She was probably maybe a little more lax in dealing with the kids. And so, and he wasn't able to be the breadwinner. They're having to live on her inheritance. There's just, I could see definitely self-righteous. The disappointed family annihilator believes his family has let him down or has acted in ways to undermine or destroy his vision of the ideal family life. An example may be disappointment the children are not following the traditional religious or cultural customs of the father.
I don't think we saw that.
No.
Well, I mean, he was religious, or he was traditional and conservative. The kids were not. He's got the whole tradition and background of his family line. Maybe
he was traditional and the kids weren't.
Well, most teenagers aren't. You know what I mean? So yeah, the cops are called on him for attacking Arthur. Why was he attacking Arthur? So there was obviously something going on in the family dynamic where he felt like he was losing control. And it had to have probably been pretty severe for Agnes to call, because when I look at like some of the friends and family members of her, and you look at her pictures, she looked like a sweetheart. She looked, and they said she was very personable. So I could see how she would be more inclined and on the children's side when it came to maybe arguments and stuff. And if she is the type of personality I think she is, it would have been really hard for her to call the police on her husband. Like, I think it had to be unusual for her to do that, because most people, that personality type, they would try to be a peacemaker and calm everybody down. So and this is just me, she must have had some, fear there of this is getting out of hand.
Back to why, if he's alive or not, I was a Methodist, and it's sort of the Catholic beliefs, a few of them. Catholics used to believe if you committed suicide, that's the only sin you won't go to heaven for.
True.
Right.
So if he was real religious, there's no way he would kill himself.
True.
Right.
The affair, and we saw this in one other, I can't remember, but the affair and the annihilation of the family was okay in the religious eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
List, yeah.
The anomic is, in these cases, the family has become firmly linked in the mind of the killer to the economy. So the father sees family as a result of his economic success, allowing him to display his achievements. In other words, his family is his achievement. Yeah. However, if the father becomes an economic failure, he sees the family as no longer serving this function.
That's him.
I think that's probably the closest. I think you could probably have all of them to a degree, but he was definitely failing economically. Mm-hmm. And then paranoid, those who perceive an external threat to the family, this is often social services or the legal system, which the father fears will side against him and take away the children. Here, the murder is motivated by a twisted desire to protect the family. I don't see that one at all. I think definitely the anomic was really big. And with the anomic, usually they are socially stunted, which I'm not sure if he was. He looked like he could have some fun as well. But I think the economic was a big trigger for him. And if they were like in private colleges and private schools, all of that was about to come crashing down.
Right.
In all of these cases, masculinities and perceptions of power sets the background for the crimes. The family role of the father is central to their ideas of masculinity, and the murders represent a last-ditch effort to perform a masculine role.
Yep. Crazy.
So what do y'all think? I mean,
There's definitely some common denominators there. Very common, some patterns we're seeing. The masculinity, losing control, financial.
Yep. I'm the father of this household. What I say goes. You know, it's like it's like all these people, they didn't grow. You know what I mean? It's like they were stuck in this idea. And I'm all for, you know, I'm conservative in my beliefs of what family should look like and what, you know, life should look like. But I also am willing to grow as a person, you know, and how I interact with other people. Like with Kent, you know, when he was little, you know, I was a stinker until he's about 4 or 5. And it's like, you know, being a drill sergeant, what am I doing? And then I recognized like his personality was totally different. So I had to adjust. Like it was similar enough where I thought he was like me. But then when I realized he needed step by step and only give him the one thing to do at the time, I was like, okay, me being a D, I'm like, do this, you know, but he needed just that one thing and to be able to focus on that. And so I began to adjust myself to his personality. And so it seems like with a lot of these people, they don't grow. It's like they are stuck and the past becomes more important to them than the future.
And their success, that stunts them.
Yeah.
They go on and have the same kind of jobs, marry the same kind of people.
It's like,
He definitely was a business owner. I'm curious what type of business he did, because to me, it's like, hey, you guys meet someone that knows Spanish and French and English, and they look like this dude and they own this business. You probably want to check them out.
I'm gonna have to watch that one now. I haven't watched it.
Can you? Because you can't get Netflix.
No,
well, maybe on disc, maybe.
Pony and Carriage brings it.
All right. So I think it's break time, and then we're going to save the best for last.
I have to.
Yes.
Well, that probably wasn't a good way to phrase that.
Right.
No. Who are we doing next?
Jeffrey McDonald.
Last one. Yes. And
That's up there
Elena,
with,
she's reading the book, so she's going to be able to give us some
Almost
tidbits.
done.
Oh, Fatal Vision. It was really spooky back when it first came out. I bought it right away.
It's very detailed, but not in an annoying type of way.
And they were friends.
And you
Well,
know the story behind that. Yeah.
McDonald thinks that.
but he's so egotistical that I could see how he would.
But he let him go
stupidly
to
think
his
that.
apartment.
Because
and there
again,
was
he's
proof there.
egotistical.
He thought he could trust him too. Because
Yeah.
look how devastated he got when he found
We
out.
were
he couldn't.
best friends. I
Yeah.
remember that interview.
I
Not
think
just
it's always ironic when murderers are feeling betrayed and upset about it.
yeah. We gotta.